I'm now going to show you how you can create your own lookup tables using adjustment layers on an image. Okay, now this will only work in Photoshop CC. So if you're using an older version of Photoshop, let's say Photoshop CS6, you don't have the ability to actually save out or export your own lookup table. Okay, so you do need to be using the latest Photoshop for this one. So let's just go to File and Open, and this time we're in Color Grading Session 3. I'm just going to open this beach image. Okay, now this is a photo I took out in the Bahamas, okay, just on the beach, which, you know, is okay, it's quite nice, but it needs a lot of work. Okay, so I'm just going to fit this on screen so that we can see it a little bit better. Now, when you're working with images and you're actually creating your own lookup tables, it's very important to work with an image that has not been edited in any way. Okay, so it's like your standard image that you get out of your camera, because as soon as you start adding extra contrast or you change the colors, all of that is going to be added to your lookup table, so that when you apply it to a different image that doesn't have that contrast and change colors, you're going to get a very different effect. So make sure that this is an unedited photo. It's also very important that your image is called background. Okay, it requires that in order for the lookup table to be exported. Now, sometimes you might find, for example, if I click on this, it's now called layer 0. Okay, that will not work. So if your image says layer 0, an easy way to do this is just right click on layer 0 and choose flatten image, and it turns it back into that background layer again. Make sure you do this before adding any adjustment layers, otherwise you'll have to repeat the process all over again. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to this icon at the bottom, and we're going to, or you can also do the same in the adjustments. I mean, they're exactly the same. I just prefer using this. We're first of all going to go to our curves. Okay, curves allow you to change the bright elements of the image in this top corner and the darker elements of the image in this bottom corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a traditional S curve for adding more contrast. So I'm just going to click and drag on this top part to add a bit more light. I'm going to click and drag in this bottom part to create an S shape that adds a lot more contrast. Okay, so you can certainly see that now. The blacks are blacker and the whites are whiter. So if I switch this eyeball off, you can see before and after. Okay, now obviously you can go crazy with this if you want. Get it to a point where you're quite happy with that image. Once again, I'm going to click down here, and perhaps this time I might actually change the exposure a little bit. Okay, so the exposure, if I click and drag on this, notice that it's actually making the whites even whiter. It's also lightening the darks a little bit, but it's not doing so much with the darks. It's mostly the lighter elements. So in fact, what I'm going to do is actually bring this exposure down just a little bit to about -0.17. Now the offset should affect the midtones, and instantly it goes grey when I drag that way, or really black when I drag that way. Oh, sorry, the offset affects the darker elements, so like the shadows and things. So I'm just going to drag that down a little bit, and the gamma correction changes the midtones, okay, in the image. So I'm actually going to drag this way. I'm going to minus this as well to about 1.15. All right, minus 1.15. I believe it's in the minus, is it? Yeah, it's just not saying the minus after it for some reason. Notice now that this looks a lot better. So before we have this it's almost like a mist that's over the image. As soon as we've added that, we've got rid of that mist, and it's a much more contrasty kind of an image. Now I'm going to click on this again. This time I'm going to go to Hue and Saturation. I'm going to increase the saturation just a little bit, +8, to bring these colours out. The lightness, I'm going to try just bringing this up just slightly, +3. I don't like to mess with the hue. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. Now, if I just see before and after. I've just lightened the image slightly, and obviously we've got rid of that haze that was over the image. Okay, what else can we do? Let's also go to the adjustments, and what we're going to do, we're going to click on this one right on the end here, which adds a gradient map. Okay, instantly you get this effect, alright, which can be quite extreme. Let's click on this, and obviously we get our gradient editor. I'm going to click on this one, okay, this bronzed kind of look. I'm going to click OK. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change this blend mode from normal to let's try a soft light. Okay, I'm going to bring the opacity down to about 46%. What has that done? It's warmed the image up immensely. Okay, it's not really changed the colours, it's just warmed it up. Okay, so it's given it a tint as opposed to changing individual colours. Now I'm quite happy with that as a lookup table for an image. So what I want to do now is save this out. So with nothing selected, I'm going to go to File, Export, and you'll see Colour Lookup Tables. And click on that. You have the option, obviously, to save it out in different formats. I normally do save it out as a cube file, but you can save it out as these other files as well. The reason why you would do that is so that it would work in numerous other bits of software. I generally find that cube files are accepted by almost all software anyway, so I just choose that. Grid points, I like to work 64 high. Okay, you can go really high or really low. I find that this gives a good representation of this color lookup table. Beach.jpg description, that's you can put a different description if you want. Click OK. Color grading session 3. I'm going to call this warm up. Whoops, warm up. Okay, and it will save that as a .cube file. So I'm just going to click save. Alright, it does that. Now it's actually saved that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this bottom one, Alt Shift, click on the top one, and I'm going to delete all of those. Okay, so we're right back to where we started with this image that doesn't look so great. Okay, we're now going to click Adjustments. We're going to go to our color lookup. We're going to load our LUT file. Okay, going to go to Pictures, Color Grading Session 3, and there is our warm-up cube. Click on that, apply it, and we're right back to where we want it to be. Okay, fantastic. That color lookup table can now be used on any photograph, and it will have pretty much the same effects. Now I do like to create quite a lot of lookup tables. They're great as starting points for color grading your images or videos, and that's also a good point. This color lookup table can now be taken into something like Premiere, and you will get the same effect on video that you do with this photo. Or you can also save it out so you can use it inside of Unity for your games.